Roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Welcome back to Under the Influence, everybody. I'm your host, Levi Thiessen, joined by my other co-hosts,
Jerry Crane.
and
Byron Thiessen.
and
Jude Crane.
and we're also joined by a great guy sitting in that chair over there. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Shibley.
Chris Shibley, special guest, friend of the show, one who's been behind the camera a little bit. Spoiler alert. You've heard and seen us, probably our eyes occasionally glance off.
That's when I was doing all the finger guns over there. It was to Chris.
Yes, to Chris.
And laughing at the guy, that was Chris.
That was Chris.
You know how sometimes
That's off
we
camera
pull
too,
so.
so.
We'll pull note cards
That's
from
it,
Frank.
Church.
You're right.
Chris is
There's a lot
actually
of-
right
Chris has
behind
just been
that,
standing back there.
writing all Frank's
for,
jokes.
For hours at a time.
Yes.
While we record.
Chris has been Frank. You don't even know what Frank or who Frank is, do you?
No, I'd love to hear the story, though.
Frank is a long dead World War,
Yeah.
any war veteran.
Every
war.
war.
He's been everywhere. And everywhere.
Anytime that lamp shaketh,
Yeah, sometimes that
Frank
lamp-
doth speak.
Oh, when the light starts to flicker. On
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was the studio ghost. There was a ghost that kind of hung out, and we would get notes from him every now and then, and he would every now and then you just see a little piece of paper kind of slip right out of there from behind the curtain.
Uh-huh.
But I guess we're confirming now that you were Frank. You were behind that curtain.
He was actually in that corner behind the
No,
speaker
no,
seat
no,
the
no.
entire
He-
episode. He would just wait, and then he'd put the little note card out.
He would
Yeah.
sit
Yeah.
there with the power plug and just
turn the lamp off.
If you go back in episodes, there's one episode
Yeah.
that his foot actually slips out a little bit. You could see it.
find the
You can
episode.
find
I
it
don't know.
and pin
man.
it.
My handwriting's
Let us know.
really bad. I don't know if that would have been Frank. I probably would have texted you if I was.
That's true.
Whoa, he's getting technological.
across
Frank has
across
evolved.
dimensions.
Speaking across dimensions, cross-dimensional. What is that? I'm trying to make an SMS joke here.
I'm sure Elon's working on it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure Elon's working.
Like, SMS
Our biggest
messaging is
worry
like.
right now is actually text messaging parallel universe.
Yeah, but like.
But
We
it's-
did just
he would
build a
say it
rocket
in
that can
very
land.
calm way, so you're not worried. It's like, we're going to do cross-dimensional text messaging.
Yeah.
We're going to invite some demons over. We're going to just go ahead and put them into our AI, and
Yeah, he's
spread
just,
it across the world.
And then we enter the
lives
Doom
better.
universe and start using them for power.
It's true.
So, for those of you watching and have no idea who Chris is, we were kind of like joking about it earlier, but Chris really is coming on board onto the podcast. We can talk
Yes,
about this, right?
absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he's going to be here working with us. So we wanted to have him on because, well, it'd be fun to have him on the show, but also especially because it's good for him to get an experience to see what we do and what we're trying to do, and also he's mainly coming on to help us produce it. So hopefully here soon, the show, you'll be seeing significant improvements, and it'll be I think that it'll be incremental as some things go on, but we're nearing the end of this season, which is insane, right? We started video and we thought it was this huge, crazy thing, and we're already almost done. We have 2 episodes left for this season, and we have big plans for them. But it's just insane. We started this thing that was totally new, and we're already almost done with it. And so we have a lot of our own individual little complaints. We don't like this about it or that about it, or things that was well, we just need to get started, so we'll do this. And obviously you'll notice, behind us in the first couple episodes, we were we'll update this after a few episodes.
This'll change. This'll
Literally
change.
hasn't changed at all.
We went partway through and then we're just
Yeah. Now, for the audio listeners, you guys have had
it means nothing.
a consistent experience for the last
Since the
almost
dawn
2
of
years.
time.
A year and a half, your experience has been the same all the way. Actually, our audio got better around episode 5. But for those watching the video, you've also had an unfortunately consistent experience, actually.
They
Actually,
both
not really.
No.
Because the cameras moved around a lot.
That's
and I went back
true.
recently and I watched an episode where I was just man, I wonder how much it's changed. So I watched some of the video from the most recent one that came out, and then I went and watched the video from episode 1. And like, you know how we talked about how it used to be up high and now it's lower, and then now it's a little higher again. It just looks so different. It's so funny because like
Just a still from each episode where it's just like,
oh my gosh, it would definitely be all over the place. Even like multiple episodes in a row, when we push go on the camera, it like moves slightly.
yeah.
So each episode having a still, it would just be like. But no, Jude is like farther that way, and he's like sprawled out, and the camera's like looking down on him, so like you just see these shadows on his eyes, and it just looks so funny. And then like the most recent episode, you know, it's so at us, but I don't know. I think this is better, but we'll see. So you'll see little incremental changes. This is just all kind of like whatever shop talk.
Things
but like,
are getting better.
yeah, but that's why Chris is involved, and we're so excited to have him involved. I think that things are going to be just way better. Like having somebody over there kind of making sure things are working will be better than having us like always kind of looking over here. And then if things
And
need
then
to be
when we
looked
need
up,
to use the computer, we're like,
just like that.
Well, I can say I'm very excited to join the team and try and get help things out. And just so everyone knows, I have no idea what I'm doing yet. So
Hey, neither
I'll
do
be
we.
learning
That's
as
the
I
only
go.
prerequisite we ask.
Yeah,
That is.
Nobody really knows what they're
if
doing.
you know what you're
Is it in
doing,
keep-
then
it's in keeping with the theme of the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Know nothing, come in, learn everything.
Yeah. The middle or the baseline requirements for anything in Christian influence media is: do you have any experience? Yes, then you don't get the job.
No experience, you're in.
You're in.
Basically, every field you need to be pioneering in. You need to be the first
Yes.
figuring it out.
And you know what? I think people appreciate that.
and if you're not the first figuring it out, you have to act like it. So don't look
Yeah.
anything up.
So
Yeah.
you will always be the first.
You're doing a
figuring it out.
blind run.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. Like, it's been fun not knowing what we're doing a little, not at the time, but like getting to look back and be like, man, I've learned a lot of things and I'm probably doing them all wrong, but they're working. And I didn't know how to do them at all before. No, I've loved, I guess this is just kind of like, what is this our like when you're on a sitcom and then they do
In
the,
memoriam.
you know what I mean? The episode that's like, you go revisit all the old, we'll have to do that someday.
Historical episode.
Yeah, but I'm just kind of like
episode.
thinking it is cool
A
how
flashback episode.
everything has changed. Like I was thinking this week when just going through the podcast a little bit because somebody was asking about it and I was sending them some info and like sending them some different episodes. It's like, man, it's just, I feel like we're still putting out stuff that matters, you know, at least semi-consistently enough. And it's just so interesting, like to do something and to enjoy it and for people to enjoy it. And I know we talk about this every now and then, like it's not something we haven't said before, but like we're doing something that people enjoy and like that they want to see. And I think that that's so cool. And now that somebody else wants to be involved in it, it makes me excited. I'm really excited to see like what it'll be like in the future. And like Christian influence as a whole, you know, like it's growing and becoming more of something that people really want and use. And so this is kind of like our main mouthpiece too for the ministry, at least in some ways. Like a lot of times things that are going on in the ministry or things that we're exploring there kind of get discussed here. And then a lot of people there at the Discord listen to the show. And so we got to get more of them, you know, to listen to the show so that they'll understand where we're at already. I don't have to explain it 100 times. But no, it's just exciting. I'm just so excited. And I think it's going to be really cool. And I think the next season will be really, really cool. We might take another little break,
Yeah.
just a little bit, because last time, usually, you know, season 1 and 2, we took two weeks. Seasons 2 and 3, we took almost 2 months. This one, we might take just a little break. Somewhere in between there, 2 weeks and 2 months.
But don't worry, we're finishing strong. We got plans. Big plans.
Oh,
Yeah, Jude has big plans for our season
Monumental
finale.
plan.
I won't say much, but I will say this. I am putting together.
Okay, here's a question. Do you like hot sauce?
I do like a little bit of spice. It really depends. I can't get too hot. So like a banana pepper is like that's
For some
my
reason, I was
that's
expecting
Like
perfect.
a-
So
like
it's
a
a banana.
Like a banana. Oh.
It's kind of my limit for
banana
spice.
That's
pepper,
my limit
banana
of spice,
pepper.
banana.
You guys ever heard of banana pepper?
I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
Yeah,
about.
I love
Oh,
them.
okay.
Subway sandwiches, it's the best.
But not too
With
rank.
fries.
Yeah, that's about perfect. I like jalapeno. I love the flavor, but it just goes right over the line.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
so then
barely
like
over the
Tabasco
line.
is no-go?
Tabasco a little bit here and there
Okay.
is okay. Yeah.
Well, then never mind.
What the one chip challenge? You gonna try and get me to do that?
Yeah.
No. It's just that
Do we
like
still have that?
hard
Did
no.
we eat that chip?
No, we gave it away.
no, Jude gave it away.
It's a kid.
I can't believe you.
But no,
Thank goodness we
I like hot sauce
don't
a
have it
lot,
lying
and I
around
really
here to
don't
never
like
do anymore.
Tabasco. And so anytime I meet somebody that likes hot sauce, I like to ask them if they like Tabasco.
Well,
But
Tabasco's kind of vinegary.
Yes.
it is.
I think really with Tabasco, you're just adding it for a little bit of spice. So like
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it in. Like I don't put it on my omelets. I just know that people do.
Yeah.
do
I just think that like my problem with it isn't I like vinegar, but I don't like Tabasco because it's so watery and I just don't think the flavor is good. I just think it's like vinegary and
get it on your
tastes like
if you get it on your fingers or anything like that, it doesn't matter how many times you wash your hands for the rest of the day. You can't touch your eyes.
Yeah.
You're just gonna burn.
that's true. No, I like hot sauce. I just like thicker hot sauce with
What's your
more
go-to
flavor.
hot sauce then?
So
Me?
Grits.
my go-to
Grits.
hot sauce.
Grits.
I guess pretty much I just use a salsa or I can't remember the brand, but like one of those green sauces.
Yeah.
I like those green sauces. Like if you're just talking like
Cholula?
off the. I have some of that, but I carry a lot of stuff just for guests if they need it or something.
To me, like mainstream hot sauce brands, Cholula is the best.
Tapatio.
Well, I haven't even cracked that open,
Tapatio.
and I've never ever tried it before, so I'll have
Really?
to try it.
Oh, it's really
Oh,
if that's
good.
the case. Yeah.
I like Cholula. I think it's
Cholula,
really good.
Chipotle, and the garlic spice one. They're actually really
Their
good.
garlic one's
Chipotle
really good.
is a great flavor. I love that flavor. And at Costco, they have it's so much. It's more than I can use before it starts to mold on the top. But it's like a Chipotle dipping sauce.
Just imagining a tub of hot sauce. Like they have like a
It's meant,
tub of hot
yeah,
sauce.
it's meant for like a dipping or whatever. But I put it on. I like it has a good like that Chipotle flavor and like when you're making fajitas. So I'll like, cook up my fajitas and I'll just drizzle a little bit down there and cook it into it.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's nice.
Costco's
Cook
the
at
best.
Costco.
I
Pick
just
up.
made some killer
The name of
Chipotle
it is
burritos.
not something I want to repeat. It's the itchin Chipotle sauce.
Oh, okay. The name of it is something I do not repeat. Chipotle sauce. Cool. Sorry, we don't have to talk about hot sauce, but I thought there was a chance maybe you were like a hot sauce guy, and I was gonna be like, oh.
Well, I think it's very important to set out the, I mean, some days, some
Right.
podcasts, you may want to, order us by heat levels, How
Exactly.
much can you
Sit us
handle?
by
Yeah.
how much we like.
And then you just have all your hot wings right here.
Yeah.
Here you go. I need to see where they stop. It's like, nope.
We take the hot ones challenge, but it's very
It's one
different.
bite and pass
It's like it's a one bite pass to see how far it gets. So
hate
it's always
being
going
at
to
the
die
end.
at Byron. So we have to put Byron at the end.
I'm the worst.
You're not passing along like
don't
a
wanna take a
plate
bite after
of
Levi.
wings.
It's one
It's
wing.
one wing that each person takes a
Byron's
bite
at
out
the end.
of.
We're like, man, Byron,
Oh, it's
you
really hot here.
Byron, were those too hot? You just didn't eat it. And he's like, I just didn't want to take a bite after Levi.
Okay, so who is it here that handles the most heat? It's Jerry,
Probably
for sure.
Jerry.
Oh, okay. And what's
I
your
think
level?
so.
He doesn't have to.
What's my level?
Like, what do you?
How many
what do you get up to?
Scoville units do you
Habanero,
need?
habanero, ghost pepper.
I can eat habanero
One chip
stuff and it's
challenge.
fine. I don't see like I'd like stuff to taste good though, but
Yeah.
I do like spicy food. So
That's
what?
no, that's the thing with spicy stuff. Most of the time, like, oh, this is super spicy, like buffalo sauce. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so good, it's so spicy, and then it's just like, it just tastes bad.
No, don't say that about buffalo
no,
sauce.
I agree
like
with
toxic
Levi.
orange
Like-
buffalo
Buffalo
sauce.
I
sauce.
mostly agree.
Like
the
the
best.
chemical,
Just hot-
Yeah.
just hot for
it
the sake of
tastes so
hot.
bad.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't think buffalo sauce is hot really. To me, buffalo sauce it
better
just
flavor.
is acid. Like
vinegary.
It's,
Yeah.
The vinegar
Acidic,
aspect
yeah.
is fine, I guess, but it's like when you eat it, you're like,
It's corrosive.
It's-
you feel it in your
like
nose.
everything is sour, and like as soon as it hits your throat, you're like, things are coming up, and it's gonna hit my gut,
Yeah.
and everything's gonna bubble.
Your whole face.
Both
sheens.
ends of my body
You
are
ever
gonna be
try to eat
shooting.
some
don't
food
need
or
that.
swallow some food? You're kind of like going a little bit fast. Oh, I just inhaled a little bit.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't do that with buffalo sauce.
No, you
It's
don't
just
do that.
always the
It's like,
feeling.
Because you always have that feeling once it's in front of you. Because breathing it in is enough.
But I
Right.
will admit, sometimes I think buffalo sauce tastes good.
It's good.
It's just not my favorite. Like really orange. You can kind of tell by the color. Super like cloudy orange buffalo sauce is always like.
yeah.
It's
yeah,
crazy
I
you don't
can see
like
that.
this. I would have thought you would have been my like brother in arms because you just eat salt out of the flipping shaker.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem too. It is weirdly salty. Like
No, I just hate.
yeah,
He
Levi's
doesn't like the
just-
acidic level.
Salt.
I'm guessing.
No, it's just bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
I
and
want
that's
some
where,
wings right now.
That's where jalapeno is the opposite side of that. It's hot, but I'll risk it and get it on a few
'Cause of flavor.
few
Risk it
things
for
because
the
I like the
biscuit?
flavor. Of
Raw or
jalapeno.
like the pickled jalapenos?
I prefer raw. Yeah.
Really?
I like raw.
That's so
jalapenos
much
well.
harder to get the flavor.
That's
I
why
like the crunchiness when it's raw.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like the crunchiness. No, I like it for the same reason.
Yeah.
I don't really like canned jalapenos very much. I don't think they taste great.
Yeah, mushy and yeah.
No. Okay.
But what is it they
It's a
say?
snack.
It's like the canned ones are hotter, or no, once you cook them. Once you cook an jalapeno,
Yes,
it's
when you cook a
hotter.
jalapeno, it's way hotter.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, yeah, because the oil gets in whatever you're cooking too, so the whole thing.
So
like
probably
when you
why
put
I like it
breaks
raw.
it down.
when you put jalapenos on something, like you're really just getting the heat mostly on what it is and what it's touching.
Uh-huh.
When you cook it, yeah, it all gets in it. No, I think for me, I do really like hot food, but I don't know, where I'm still comfortable and enjoying it is like habanero spicy. Anything hotter than that, it's like, it's fine, but it's just spicy for the sake of spicy usually. But yeah, I'll eat like, we got some Carolina Reaper jerky one time when we were at a fair. That was fine. It was like,
fine.
I mean, it was hot. It was really hot. And it was really funny, actually. It was the first time we were at the Deschutes County Fair for a Susie Q show. Or not the Deschutes County Fair. We were there for a different fair, but it doesn't matter. Dave and I are walking around, and we went to the booth for B&D Meats, which some of you know we've talked about before. Jude has got us some meat sticks for the show before, which we were referencing earlier. We did our first guest episode on video. We did a food review, essentially. We all sat and we ate some supposedly really spicy meat sticks, and they were not that spicy.
It was elk.
It was
One of them was elk.
Yeah.
Or all of them were elk.
Yeah, but one of them was like habanero. One was ghost
Scorpion
pepper,
pepper?
scorpion pepper. It was not that hot.
One
but
was
Did it
Scorpion
challenge
pepper.
any of you though? I mean, or was it just Jerry that was just like,
I mean-
whatever?
I did not hand. I don't like hot foods. I like very blands.
you like bland food?
No. I like good flavor.
Yeah.
I like to have a nice flavor, a good palate. But on a hot item, it has to have good flavor if I'm gonna survive the heat.
Yeah.
But if it's above too much, it gets a little bit.
I'm definitely not a heat zealot. Like, I get it. Like, no, there are some people. There are some people that are like, what? Well, there is no flavor if there's
What,
no
you
spice.
can't eat a ghost
Now,
pepper?
You might think that I am because, like, even just yesterday I was eating mac and cheese and I put sriracha on it. But
No, I bathe in jalapeno, but you might think I'm.
you might think I'm
If you
a
look at me, you might think I'm a heat fiend, but no.
little Trumpy over there. Yeah, it's getting a little Trumpy. Huge. I'm a huge fan.
Love that
huge
food.
fan.
You might think, but I definitely agree. Like, flavor's better.
You don't
But
have to be a heat zealot, but you can be like a heat
Heat
athlete.
monger.
a heat
monger.
Yeah, where you're like
heat
you're
monger.
training. He's like
A heat
I'm at
czar.
habanero. It's my personal best.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the ghost pepper.
It's kind of fun.
We're gonna get the
Heat
reaper.
czar.
We're gonna-
No, the Duke of Heat.
I've been
The Duke
doing
of Heat.
more of that kind of stuff lately, just like challenging myself to be able to do things and then working up to it. Like, that's been my whole push-up thing. Has been like, I'm working to 100.
I feel like
I'm gonna get
hot
there.
tolerance though. Like a habanero is too much for me to eat comfortably. There's nothing that tastes good enough that's as hot as a habanero that would make me want to eat it. I'm just there for the experience, the burn.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But like training that, it's just pain training. That's all like hot.
People do that kind of thing. I mean, that's
Well,
a lot of what working
it
out is
depends,
too.
though. Like I was saying, I like jalapenos, but it also makes it so I don't finish my food because it's like take a few bites. It's like I gotta let this
Yeah.
cool down. It's so good, but I don't want to keep eating it. But
Okay.
I gotta take a break.
I train myself a little bit of jalapenos every day so that I can put them in 2 cups, and you can have.
I
the
was
cup,
just thinking
and can
that.
have the cup.
I was gonna
And
make that
doesn't
joke.
It doesn't matter which cup you take.
Which cup
it's
has
always
jalapeno?
jalapeno.
I was waiting till it died down, and I was gonna make a Princess Bride reference.
Oh, so
Be like, why do you think I'm doing it? So that someday I can put habanero powder in someone's drink,
Yeah.
and be like, yeah.
Except for as you give your speech about how you were so smart and you won. You're hacking, you're coughing, your eyes are running.
Yeah.
You never eat wings with a Sicilian.
when death is on the line.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it's
No,
so
you
can
powder
probably
it.
eat.
You put it
Sicilian?
into
Yeah.
somebody's air tank.
So
Oh my god!
Wait.
But
what?
you-
Like an iron lung.
Yeah, you put it into somebody's air tank.
Oh,
You go scuba diving, but you put it in all of them because you've trained yourself to survive the heat.
Have you trained
Your
your
lungs?
Just like habanero smell, like just like
like
open up a can.
Like powder, like enough.
He's
to
saying
where
powdered jalapeno.
it'll-
oh.
He's
Burn out
aerosolizing
your
jalapeno.
So the one chip challenge, I watched a guy do it one time, and the thing they said, "What's your advice?" He's like, "Do not be inhaling when you put that in your mouth."
Yeah.
Oh.
He inhaled it into his lungs. He started chewing it up. He's like, "It's like broken glass in my mouth."
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
can
but
only imagine.
the hypothesis for spicy food is that it's like a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
For plants.
Right. Okay.
And most of like the defense mechanisms that we see, like thorns and having stingers on animals all came because of the fall. So do you think that there was spicy food before the fall?
If it was a defense mechanism, right? We're assuming that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are all the people that enjoy spice just enjoying
Oh my-
the fall of man and the sin?
Oh, there it is.
and the
There's the
depravity?
There it is.
I was
You know
waiting
what you
for,
could
like-
hear in Levi's voice
it was like this.
at the beginning was,
like-
there's going to be another shoe that drops that is, I'm trying to trap you.
And that's why you're not going to heaven.
Yeah.
I was
And
waiting for
that's
the-
why you're not
So,
saved.
so
like-
is Chris and Byron really like the most
We're a
faithful
little bit more
servants?
righteous because
Right.
we can't handle the heat.
You're like, I just can't handle sin. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm.
Sorry,
I'm actually
I just
just not a fan
I'm
of
not a fan of
breaking God's
sin.
It makes
commandments.
my eyes water. It makes,
makes me
it gets
cry.
me choked up.
Yeah. It makes me throw up. I regurgitate the sin in my body.
Yes,
But
the
it's
answer
but
is
it's
yes.
but it's not what
Yes.
goes into the body that makes the man sinful.
Ooh, New Testament dunk.
But it's what comes out of the mouth.
Crap, regurgitation. What were you trying to say earlier, Byron?
It's too late now.
Okay. I tried. I was waiting. I was on your side. Just so
Okay,
you know.
thank you.
I was on your side.
Thank you.
All right, we're talking about spicy food. Now, I
Yeah.
can talk about spicy food forever. I love spicy food. But, Jude, earlier you were saying... We got it. We're listening to the En Route with Jude song.
Can't you hear it?
It'll make sense.
Who's the most accurate?
It's over.
I go on
Only
route.
they heard it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't
I
worry about it.
deliver
made up
kettle
a song in my
corn.
head.
Yeah.
So.
It's what I do.
you?
It's my calling.
Really?
Yes.
What?
And I see things on the road.
It's your calling.
You see things while you're driving.
That's bad.
You don't
Yes.
drive with your eyes closed?
Oh, wait, that's good.
No.
I'm confused.
But anyway, I drive a white van. It's right now.
It has no windows.
Right now, there's no windows in the back or magnets on the particular day that I was driving. And I'm trying to
Got
grow
it.
this mustache, and sometimes it's a bad look.
Sweet,
Treats for
filled with sweet
treats for anyone of any age.
for anyone of any age.
When I was a kid and I would ride around while my parents were driving me, I would stuff a backpack full of toys, hang it on a hook in the back of the car. I had a Lego backpack, and all the studs were little pockets.
That was a cool... I remember
That's incredible.
Yeah.
We
and
had
so-
to. No, it was a 2x4 Lego brick. Did you not see, have you ever seen these?
No. Do you
Yeah.
still
I
have
both
it?
had one.
No. But each stud was its own little pack,
Little
and then the
pocket.
whole thing was a backpack.
It's
That's
Jude's
so
go bag.
cool.
It was really cool.
It's
Okay.
Jude's,
It's
it
kind-
was.
We got an emergency. Jude
Jude's
got
go
his
bag.
Got my Legos. We're out of here.
My
Yeah.
matches.
I got my Legos.
My Legos.
Throw
Floor
them on the
matches.
floor. Don't worry.
Literally
I can
only
make any
Legos
survival
inside.
device I need with these Legos.
I just
You
pull
want
out
a
the
fire?
brick, the one like orange brick remover. It's like I can take care of it
Yeah.
with this.
It's
That
I've
was
got
a
Splinter
huge,
orange brick remover.
huge part of like my childhood was just having a backpack full of toys in the back seat. I tried to keep there. When I was driving, I saw this kid, and who I presume is his sister. His sister was like asleep up against the window. That's why I noticed, because her face was like up against it. And then the kid had a backpack hanging up in the back seat, and he was like pulling toys and stuff out of it. So I was like, oh, that's
Me
that's
from
just
the
what I was
past.
doing. And I was having a just sucky morning. I was tired, and it was gray. And so like it brought me joy. It was nice. It was a nice, wholesome, candid experience.
Right.
And as I'm like driving past, looking at this kid in his car, and I am going, I make eye contact with like the mom, who's just been looking at me, looking at her sleeping daughter and son, in the, and these are like 7-year-old. Yeah, and I definitely, like, I don't take care of myself in the morning. I don't look good. And so I was just like probably stuff hair all a mess, and
Yeah.
just like
So
looking at
Jude's
her
gonna
kid
shave off the
smiling,
mustache
just
now.
like, ooh, and then I of
And if
course
she
drove
s-
away because I don't want to make eye
If
contact
she
with
saw
her.
you before, all down and glower, and then you're just like,
And
Yeah.
you're happy.
Yeah,
Great. This is
it was
great to talk about after our Sound of Freedom episode.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Which I haven't seen. I still need to see that. So
The
So
movie?
that was on route. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I've
sure
seen
I'm
that.
on like a watch list now. I also saw a Tesla. I was driving, this is more recently. A Tesla zooms past me in the left lane, and I look at the license plate, and it says, don't worry about it. This Tesla's zooming past me. This Tesla's zooming past me in the left lane, and I look in, and I see a pilot, who I presume is a pilot, because he's got the whole, like, the shoulder things, he's got the hat, he's got the tucked-in shirt, dress pants, and he's just zooming by, and then his license plate said, Sky Daddy on it. And anytime I see something en route and I don't want to like write it down, I'll just, because I'm driving, I'll text it to Jerry using Siri.
Dude.
And so I'm like, text Jerry Sky Daddy. Text Jerry Sky Daddy. Sky Daddy. And it took me like 3 times because I did not want to. Siri didn't think I was actually just saying Sky Daddy.
Daddy.
I'm pretty sure when I looked at it, I might have been with Perry. No, that was a different time. I was at work, but I just like, looked down at my phone and it's a text from Jude, and I'm like, all right. And it just says Sky Daddy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope this is an en route with Jude thing. Like, I don't know what this is. If not,
Just a little magical things happen.
Willy Wonka.
Oh.
The old one. It's
dude,
just
that is.
I like the old
bizarre.
one.
Just-
It is bizarre,
Too
but
weird.
like,
I went back and watched it.
You seen the tunnel?
sorry.
Did you get to that?
Yeah. No, I've seen clips of it.
the tunnel is the
like,
weird.
like I said, it's like
that part I watched. I'm like, why is this in a kids movie?
I'm watching at the beginning, and he's got these grandparents that are sick, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they're all in the same bed. I'm like, what is
and
their
it's both
for?
sets of
That's where you turn it
grandparents
off.
sitting
You're
in
like,
the
this
same
is
bed.
ridiculous.
My reality has been broken. I can't.
This many old people couldn't exist in one bed. This is so unrealistic. Turn this off.
Oh, you guys would have hated me as a kid.
Did you get to the part where they fly?
They fly. Witchcraft.
I'm done with movies altogether. One of my favorite little details about that movie, I don't know why, I just think it's so great, is when all of the town is like surrounding the gates. This is just the sort of stuff that, like, to me is fascinating about movies and stories. Is like little details that you go like, oh, it just builds more of this world, like world building. He steps out of the gates open, everybody's like waiting. He walks out with this cane, like he's like, and then he does the somersault. Like it's like this classic moment. He does the somersault and everybody's like, oh, whoa. But the cool thing about it is the cane stays standing. And it's not in dirt. So it's not like he sticks this cane into the dirt. It's on stone. And it's like slightly off because the cane is made of chocolate. And so it's melted to the stone on the bottom. And like,
What?
I remember the first time I watched that movie and noticed that detail, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever because he's walking it with this cane and then a little bit of the cane is just stuck to the ground because it's made of chocolate.
Does he not take another step? And then, like, his hand just comes off the cane, and then he leans.
I'm pretty sure
because it's like the
he's
cane
leaning
gets,
against, and the cane just gets stuck, and he keeps walking, and then does the somersault. But like, I love the sort of things in movies like that, where obviously your eyes are drawn to the fact that this man who was walking out with a cane does a somersault. But if you look in the background, you still see the cane, and it's just like sticking up.
I never saw that.
Yeah, I think I'm right.
I'm pretty sure you're right because I
pretty sure
remember,
you're right.
I
That sounds
remember the
amazing.
exact
Because
same
the cane is kind of
epiphany.
like.
You must do that thing that I do then. After you've watched a movie a certain number of times,
Yes.
you start looking in the background. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, well, this person is
That's
talking
the
to me.
first
What's
movie I
the
ever did
look
that
this
with.
person is
Yes.
making.
Have you done that to Star Wars during the tunnel scene or when Luke Skywalker's in the tunnel with the X-wing and he's gonna go shoot this stuff down? There's hidden things all over in that tunnel. There's like the guys who are doing the prop sets did a great job, but they also had to use razor blades, like straight razors. They had to use all these crazy things in there, and so if you just pause every scene, there's something new to find in it.
that's
It's how you go
I
see.
heard an Empire, maybe it's Return of the Jedi. It's one of them where the rebels have like a bunch of their ships out there.
Yeah.
One of them is a shoe.
Yeah.
One of them is a shoe. It's a shoe.
straight up
floating.
shoe?
I think that's correct.
Just hanging by its laces.
I haven't.
do-
I don't.
Some guys loafers.
recall that I've
just-
seen it myself. I've heard it over and
Sandal.
over and over again. Like you can probably find it.
It's a flip flop.
I mean,
It's a bright blue
I
Old
doubt-
Navy flip flop.
I doubt that it's still there.
It's so small.
That's true.
And it's probably one of those where it's like the fans say this is a shoe, but there's no confirmation.
Hidden Easter egg in Return of the Jedi, special effects artist Ken Ralston hit a shoe
There's
in
like
the
a-
Battle of Endor. It was pinpoint. So it's Admiral Akbar's looking out his ship into space. And there's a fleet of ships, and in the corner, one of them
We'll put this up on
is
screen as well.
just a shoe.
And Admiral
You
Akbar
can
says
see
the famous
that's the
line.
heel and that's the toe.
Can I see?
And then Akbar says the famous line, "It's a Reebok."
It's a Reebok.
Here, I want to see.
I doubt that's.
That's a shoe.
It's not a
it's like a
debated
Converse.
matter.
It's
It's
like a-
just you might not be able to tell, but
like a
that's a
Converse.
shoe.
But did they say it was
Apparently
a shoe?
he came out
or
saying
people
that
think
it
it's a
was a
shoe.
He
said
said
it
it
was.
was his shoe. Okay, then it's a shoe. Chris, I wanted to talk about, if you want to talk about it, why you want to be involved.
Well, I just to kind of put out there how we all met. I'm a member of the same church as Jerry, Jude, and Levi.
Not me.
Creekside Bible Church.
Creekside, yep.
I go to a different church.
And
Byron's been a few
Latter-day
times.
Saints.
I've been a few times.
He goes to Latter-day Saints.
Which might be
Hold.
what? Poor Byron. The number of times I've said on the show Mormons aren't believers, and Byron's like,
Oh my gosh, you got it.
And yeah,
Stop.
he's just like, oh, I don't want to talk about that.
Byron is not
Because he's
Mormon.
actually.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No worries.
We derailed.
And so, yeah, so I'm part of the church. I felt strongly that God led me to Creekside. I was, I've been Christian in the past, lived much of my life not Christian. Had, my own personal revelations that led me back to God. And in a different manner now. It's like my belief and my faith is unshakable. I mean, I should say it feels unshakable right now.
Right.
You never know what tests will be thrown at you, and I just pray God allows me to overcome them. But I just felt drawn to Creekside, and I wanted to help out. I wanted to do something. I knew that I have skills. God's blessed me in life, especially in just the manner in which I feel like I can pick up and learn things. And so I felt like if there's any need that the church needed, I wanted to help out, because I knew even if I didn't know how to do it, I could probably pick it up and figure out how to do it. And they needed a soundboard guy. So I did that, and do it every Sunday. It's fulfilling. I like it, and I really enjoy it. And it was almost one of those where it's like, oh, this isn't enough. This is just Sunday. And you guys have been doing Christian Influence, the Discord server, talking to people that have a love for playing video games and trying to get into that space and just spread the news about Jesus. Just let people know. And I just, to me, that's an amazing and great thing, because I've been a video gamer a long time. So I know how it is in that space as far as it's almost like the video games themselves can even drag kids away from the concept of God. It's like they get a little bit too into it. It's they're just all about the video games. You talk about people and what kind of person is this? What kind of personality does this person have? And it seems like more and more these days, people are like, well, I'm a Doom fan. I'm a Diablo fan. It's like, well, that's not a personality trait, And so it's like, these are the kinds of things that pop culture can absorb and take over, how kids think and what they think of themselves. And I think what you guys are doing in that space, I think is really needed, really, really important. And so that's where I wanted to help. I was like, if I figure out the soundboard, maybe I can figure out this. And I'll admit, I'm a podcast junkie. I watch a lot of podcasts. So a lot of the information that you hear me just spouting off, some of it I've researched and confirmed for myself. But if it's not, I will make sure to say that. It's like, this is what I heard from a podcast.
I think I hope that we're pretty good at
Yeah.
we will say, and we've researched this, we know it, most of what we talk about that isn't, biblical, we're, pretty freehand.
Right. So I just, I feel like watching those podcasts, I saw some of the ones that I watched as they were started out small and got more successful and bigger and bigger and bigger. They always had a producer. They always had somebody there going through and just making sure your sound levels are okay. If you guys are talking about a certain topic, you're like, what was it? I remember this one movie that I watched. Something happened, and I can go, Google that, get that for you guys, so you guys can just keep your conversation going. I can kick it over to you, and then you have it when you need it. And I just, that, like what Jerry was talking about, some improvements here and there to make the podcast a little bit better. I'm not looking to move in and say, hey, let's change everything to go like this, but I just want to play a role. I want to get in and see if I can't help make things a little bit smoother. So
I'm excited. It's interesting. Well, I guess I'll comment first on that. I think that it's going to be great having somebody who wants to be here and is committed to helping. That's just, and it'll be great having a fresher set of eyes too. I'm okay if you come in and start being like, hey, what if we did it this way? Because we can always be like, actually, I don't think we're going to. But there are a lot of improvements that we could come up with that would be like, yeah, it would be good to have this. But it's really easy for us to just kind of get sedentary, in what we've been doing. And then just since you brought up the idea of just helping out and maybe changing this and that, I've been like, you know what? Yeah, some of this, I am convinced that like these other things would just be better, you know, and I think it'll be a better experience for people listening. And it'll just be like, there's an element of making things more entertaining that I think does matter. Because sometimes in my head I get like, well, all that matters is the discussion. As long as the discussion is either interesting or meaningful, that's all that matters. But like, we're doing it on video, and we'd be doing ourselves and the people watching a disservice. Like, who cares about watching the video if the video is not interesting? Like, if it literally is just a static shot all the time at a weird angle where we're just like, you know, the only reason right now people have to watch the video is if we happen to talk about something.
Or Jude's face.
For Jude's face, and if we happen to talk about something that, well, no, the Jude's face thing, yeah, like if we ever make funny faces or just if they want to see us, wow, there we go.
Or we make
Hit
fun
the
of
mics.
Jude's face, you know.
But like, or if we happen to talk about something that needs to have something up on screen, you know.
Yeah.
So, but you could still like listen to the audio version and then go find the video and scroll through and find those little moments.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be cool to just make the video experience a better experience. But no, there was something you said in there that I think is really interesting. And I think Jude and I have talked about this a little bit lately, but it's something I've just really noticed in the Discord in general, which is like, now every time I say in general, I don't mean the general channel as a whole. Like,
Not in hashtag general.
yeah, well, it's just, there's been a lot of conversations lately, just from leadership standpoint, and everybody's been talking about like the general channel because it's a problem because of how much like nonsense is going
Just
on in
because
there.
general is
General.
general, so
Just change it to general.
does debates
nonsense.
go into general?
Yeah.
Do they need their own channel? Just troubleshooting that has been funny.
You just change general to general nonsense and then have a general.
Yeah,
then a
General
second
nonsense would be
general
great.
nonsense. and
General
then
Because
nonsense.
lately it does seem like some of it has been general nonsense. I love you guys, but
You know who you are, though.
keep it clean. No, it's like a huge thing about modern culture is absolutely, not to sound like a conservative, whatever, but like identity. Like, not even talking about identity politics, but like, it's a no-brainer that that's such a big thing right now because people are like clinging to the things they enjoy. And then, like you said, like, that's not a personality trait, but that is their identity. And I've never really considered that, like, amongst the video game community, 100%, that's a huge thing. Like, I'm a this gamer, or like, this game is my game, and like, that is their personality. Like, you have a Skyrim fan, and it's like, that's their identity, is like that they love Skyrim. But that's just an issue, like, for people in general. It probably always has, but like, I think for young people right now, I guess every generation of young people, it's probably been an issue, right? Like you have the rock bands in the 80s and stuff that people are like identifying with. But right now, with the way our culture is like all online and all very quick and easy to obtain information and like get the things that you want, I think that's only exacerbated the like, this is my identity. This is the thing that I love. This is what makes me me. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head with like, we absolutely want to get, especially young people, to realize that that should be Jesus. What they go, this is my identity in, that should be Christ. And so if we can reach them there, you know, oh yeah, it was you and me, Jude, that were talking about this, right? Because we were talking about a specific thing. We were talking about
trying to figure out what conversation you and I had about this.
Well, I just figured it out, but I have to navigate it carefully because we talked about people. We've talked about this before, but yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yes. So
October?
what?
Were you born in October?
No, but that's a good conversation.
I thought
too.
that's what we were talking about.
No, we should bring that onto the episode. Okay, no. I'm talking about how maybe I just talked to Dad about this, but I thought you were there for it. About how typically when you have people and it's like, okay, believers who you can tell like are really dedicated to God, right? You can start, one of the ways you notice that in people, whether you talk to them or not, a whole bunch, is like you see how Christ is their identity, right? And when you talk to people who are unbelievers and are just saturated in the world, you can see that like innate desire in them because there's always something people are grafting to themselves as their identity, right? And I think a huge part of like the LGBT thing It's like that is, we've talked about this before, right? It is an identity. It's like an identity thing. But like even just recently in talking to some people that do identify with that group, like I thought it was Jude and I talked about this, but maybe not. Like we were making the observation that's like, yeah, that just becomes almost everything that they always talk about. And then if it's not, it immediately goes to that. So it's like someone who is saying that they're gay or someone is gay or whatever. They're like, every little conversation, it's like, well, because I'm gay, you know, like even if it's totally innocuous, has nothing to do with it. Right. It's like, and it's just because that particular thing is a very identity wrapped up thing. But like, I think it just points to the great issue, which is like, everybody's always looking for something to make their identity and like to flavor themselves
It
with.
either becomes the subject of everything or the lens in which you view every subject.
Yeah.
That is what,
Or both.
when you make that your, yeah, that is what
Yeah.
the two things, it is
yeah.
either those two things at any time. And yeah, the LGBT, movement, there's a lot of large forces that propagate that idea that like, this is you,
Yeah.
period. Like this is who you are,
Yeah.
period. And that's it. This is your identity. This is what you hold on to. This is how you look at things. And this is what you look at. And that's really unfortunate. And especially we've seen the effects of that with Christian influence, just with the influx of people. Like we see people from literally all spheres of life jump in here. And it's, from what I've seen, not only just in general, but all over the place, it's rewarding to see people come in and realize like, oh shoot, not that this should be my identity, this server, but even this has so much more substance than whatever I was in. Like this group, this discussion, all the things you have going on here,
Yeah.
like whatever is at the root of this has something worth identifying with. And we at Christian Influence, I think, we're doing a good job of showing that Christ is that center.
We're trying. I just think it's just interesting that you brought that up, just because it's been something that's been on my mind. Like the whole identity thing, because I've seen it, like you were saying, a lot online. A lot of people just this last week that have been joining with a lot of stuff in their life. And a common denominator is like, oh, well, you're making this who you are, this thing who you are. But then just in my life, just through talking to people recently, it's been on my mind because I was like, oh, just seeing it in them, how it's something that, and I don't mean to just hammer on the whole LGBT thing. Like it's really easy as a believer. Well, I guess maybe not for some, but it's really easy to kind of hammer on that a little bit because, and we do it all the time. But that's why I'm trying to say, like, there's all these things that we do this with, like that we take and we just make what we are. But it was just this one for me that convicted me, because talking to this person, I was like, it's like literally everything you say, you will relate to the fact that you're gay. And it comes back to that. Okay, great. Every joke, everything. And then it's like everything needs to come back to that, because either there's a deep need for the other people in the room to know that they are that, or it's just because, no, I think in like more realistic terms, it's like they love that so much about themselves. They cling to that so much. And that is something that they are searching for, like, security in, right? To like have an identity in something.
Well, and it's I think this is true for everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever it is about you that other people are praising, that's what you're going to showcase.
Oh,
that's
true,
What
yeah.
that's what you're going to put forward.
And I don't know if it's I think so much people, they hated about them. And I'm, again, all spheres of life. I'm not just targeting LGBTQ. Like the thing you make your identity,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people hate, and because I think self-loathing is one of the biggest problems amongst youth nowadays. The issue is every single person, barring the extemporaneous sociopaths, want to be known. Every single person wants to be known by the people around them. And when you have made your identity this, that is all you have to give.
Yeah.
If my entire identity is wrapped up in my mental illness, then I'm going to make every joke. The butt of it is going to be like, well, because I'm depressed,
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
well, that's all I am. That's all I exist
Yeah.
as. So that's all I share with people, because this is the root of my identity. Everything is built on the fact that I have this or I have that.
And think
So-
about that example. Like,
So much of it is I don't like, so much of it is narcissistic.
Yeah.
I think people loving themselves, loving attributes about themselves. But I think the other side of the coin, and it's the same coin, is they hate it, but it's all they've made themselves to be. and they so desperately want to be seen and known by other people and loved by other people, but they only exist as this, so that's what they share.
And I think it's important to look at this, because I think what you had tracked onto, Jerry, about the personality building, or personality traits. I think it's important to look at it holistically and say, okay, what are good personality traits?
Yeah.
Like each one of you, I've met you, and I like your personalities. Like if I was to describe Jerry, and I'm just gonna, I'll describe the rest of you off camera. If I was to describe Jerry, I would say things like,
He doesn't want to lie to all of our fans. He just wants to lie to us
honest.
individually.
So that's right. Yeah, he's honest. He's patient. He's humble. He's funny. He's friendly. These are personality traits. I mean, seriously, 'cause I want to look at the camera and say these are personality traits. Those are but there's also angry. Anger. There's arrogance.
Stop.
No, not you. I'm just saying these are also personality traits.
Yeah.
So, but something like I love the Star Wars movies. I'm a big Star Wars fan or something. That's not a personality trait. That's a like. But these are the important things, because I think, especially with kids, I say kids. Sorry, I'm an old man. The younger generation, they have all this pop culture. They have video games, all these things, and it's when you are younger, that's when you're building your personality. It's like, be careful that you don't let pop culture fill in the space that is meant for you to be building out your personality.
Yeah.
So like, be loyal to your friends, trustworthy, call it keywording, whatever. Find some of these traits and just focus on them. If you realize you don't have it in your life, just take the effort and maybe just focus on one trait. I did this myself probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and mine was reliability. I've realized, you're just not being reliable. And so that was the one thing I said, I'm going to change that. I'm going to be considered one of the most reliable. And that's where you see me now. It's like I always want to be there. I want to be helping out, in the middle of, whatever it is that people are struggling to get done.
And that gives credence to the fact that it's not just building simply, a personality or a facade. Like, you work on that and it becomes you. Like, you are.
Internalize it.
If I tried to describe you, one of the first words that would come to my mind is like reliable, because at church all the time, every week when I'm late, you've already set up my HDMI cord for me, which is a huge blessing to that side camera. But like, you make an effort to do that, not just for the people around you or for the look of it, but because that's what you've made part of your character to be.
Well, and I'll top that all off with, I did this 6 or 7 years ago. I did that, and I've done it with some other things here and there. I think a lot of times if you find the right trait and you work on it, it naturally branches into more. I became more trustworthy to people because of that, because they could rely on me. And then if I couldn't get something done, I saw no point in lying about it. Just be honest. It's like, I couldn't get this done, and you get the benefit of the doubt. Like, well, dude, you did this and this and this and this. No big deal. You missed that one. We don't care. So I think, it's really important just to kind of really focus on yourself. But the topping on that is, this was all just me on my own trying to do this, and it was fulfilling to a point, because you started to see better responses from other people, things like that. But then when I started to, come back to Christianity, started, and just my personality type, I'm a I don't know what, rabbit holer. I like to and not like conspiracy theories. I mean, conspiracy theories too, but like with Christianity, it's like, source of the Bible, where'd that come from? Well, I'm going to go all the way. I'm not going to be the guy that's like, well, I heard that at the Council of Nicaea they did this and then they did this. I'm going to go, no, I'm going to go there. I'm going to read.
You're going to go to the Council of Nicaea?
Yeah, I'm going to build this time machine. I'm going to go there.
I'm going to sink in on a rabbit hole.
You're a wormhole.
I'm a wormhole.
You're a wormhole.
But basically what I'm getting to is, once you've added Jesus to that, and you've built your personality, and it really, the better way to do it would be add Jesus first. And then work on building all those, because Jesus will help you with that. And that's in my prayers for myself. My personal prayers for my own self-improvement is guide me, what should I do next? Things like that. And Jesus will do that. He'll put the things in your life. God will do that and put things in your life to help you along that path. But before that, it's good, it's fulfilling, but you can see how you could fall away from doing it. It's like, what's the point? I'm doing this, but this guy's a jerk. So I'm not going to put in the effort anymore.
Yeah.
This guy's always doing this, and this guy. And when you start comparing yourself to other people, then you hit relative morality. It's like,
Yeah.
well, this person cheats on his wife, so
Right.
yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of goes into like how the beauty of, if your identity is in Christ, your identity is something that is both morally and logically consistent. But if your identity is in anything else, then it's not. Because like you were talking about how kids especially, right? You have pop culture and all these things. If you're not developing an identity rooted in something that is like morally and logically consistent, then you're rooting it in something that is constantly changing or at any moment could change, right? And could just fall away. And so like the kids that are like, my identity, and right, this is all of us in some ways, but like my identity is this. Then the moment that thing that is out there, that idea or whatever it is changes, that means your identity changes, or like you have to change with it, or else now you're suffering with like, am I really this? Like, do I actually love this? Or like what are my stances on this? And it's just like, man, it's taxing, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, the whole point of like what I was seeing in that too in myself was like, in this person who I met who is not a believer, would not claim to be, at least in my conversation, does not claim to be a believer, like was talking to me, and I was just recognizing this in them. I was like, okay, like I'm enjoying being around this person. They're fun to talk to, but their identity is just this thing about them, and I'm just seeing that because it's in everything that they talk about, right? It's like, and this is like the easy like Christian application, but it's like, dude, am I that way with God? Like, absolutely not. Like I think I'm learning from this unbeliever, like God is using them to convict me, because I know that I'm more that way than I have been in my life, and I'm thankful to God for that. But it was just really convicting because like Christ, I know my identity is rooted in Christ, and I'm so thankful for that because he is a rock and he is consistent and he does not change and he's right. But like, if people are willing to graft these inconsistent things that are always changing and do not actually give fulfillment to themselves, and then make everything about themselves about that, like I absolutely should be doing that with God. And it's just, yeah. And so I found that to be rather convicting in my life, because I absolutely should be doing that. And then another thing you guys are saying, like both of you, about like the there's always caterings going on down below, you guys know. Another thing you guys were talking about was like the just kind of doing it, right? And as you do something, it becomes like, if you recognize you are not a certain way, I think an easy mentality to have is be like, well, I'm just not that way. Like, you know, like with reliability, you could just be like, well, I guess I'm just not a reliable person, and people will learn to know that about me. Or, you know, like, I guess I'll just, you know, I could even be honest with that. I'm not a reliable person. But it's like, dude, well, if it's a good thing, right? Especially if it's like, you can find it in the Word of God that like, this is a way that we should be, and reliability is absolutely something that we should be, then you can. Like, God can change that in you, absolutely. And it's something that like, this is a phrase people use, and I don't really love this phrase for it, but it is weirdly true, like fake it till you make it, kind of. Like, it's really just practicing something, right? Like when if it's a good thing, that's why I don't like using that phrase in reference to good things, even though it's not that bad. But like that, the older I've gotten, I've seen it in other people too. Like, that really is a real thing. Like, and it's funny because as a young adult, there's been so many things that I've been like, that's a good thing that I should be doing, but I just don't do that. So, and it's for so long, like before I got more involved in the church and God was really working on my heart, and before all that, like just as a young adult, like just living in sin and sadness and depression, it's like I just believed that all the good things about being a believer and being dedicated to God, I was just like, man, like I would make these justifications in my head, like that's just not me. It's like, that's so ridiculous. How does it become you? Like, God changes that in you, and one way he does that is like, I just think that we need to stop expecting too that things like the good changes in our lives are going to be immediate. Like you just have to work at it for a while sometimes, and like you have to practice it. And that's where that fake it till you make it mentality. It's like I want to be more reliable because I know that I should, and then you try to be reliable, and you're like, I guess I'm not reliable. It's like this. We don't give up there, you know. Like you just keep doing it until you are a reliable person, and it does come easier. And then, like you said, like there's all these clear things about like things that God tells us to be, these character attributes that God tells us to have, like to be honest, like not to lie. And you're noticing that like the more you're reliable, the more those things naturally come out of it. It makes sense.
They're self-reinforcing.
They are, yeah.
It's like just using reliability as an example to continue on that. It's like you see people interacting with you differently. Like when it's like with my family where they're like, hey, we're gonna have a potluck. Chris, you bring the sodas. It's like you bring the easy thing. It's like, whereas now it's like, no, I'm making this. I'm gonna make an enchilada.
Casserole.
I'm gonna make a casserole. Yeah, I'm gonna make something good and big.
You're gonna bring biscuits and gravy.
Yeah,
which he brought us
my
biscuits and
gosh.
gravy.
Oh
and bacon.
my goodness!
This is part of why I like cooking for people too.
Yeah.
It's like it sets the tone. Like everyone's just like full tummies. They're feeling good.
We were joking about before the podcast, like
gosh.
we ate biscuits and gravy and bacon, and I was like, man, this is the first episode Chris has been on. We're all gonna be so like, so hey guys,
So we're gonna have a siesta for this podcast.
yeah, it's like full, but no, I
The
feel
siesta
great.
episode.
The siesta episode.
That's actually Jude's big finale. It's just all of us.
Why are you giving away the
sleeping.
secret?
Sorry. He's gonna feed us, and we're gonna sleep. He's gonna bring turkey, the
It'll
tryptophan.
just be me, and I'll be whispering.
You're gonna be whispering like subliminal messaging in our and the listeners' ears, like, "Well, they're asleep now. Let me talk to you about why I'm really here." Sorry, but did one of you was
So the Book of Mormon says.
Yeah, that was what Levi, that's what you were gonna say about what we were talking about the Book of Mormon.
What?
No,
Was I gonna say something?
I thought you were, but I thought I interrupted somebody earlier. No, that's something I've been noticing, and it was interesting how that came up in what you were saying about you getting involved in this. And I absolutely would agree with Jude in that characterization of you. I think that reliability is something I would think of you. Like, it's something that I admire about your efforts too at church is like you're always on it. Like you're always there and you're a helpful person, which, to use a title of one of our episodes before, be a helpful person. I just recently edited that one, or edited one where we talked about that, but like, I think that's just a huge element of being a believer. It's just like, choose to be a helpful person, which is just a characterization of saying, like, be a servant, you know?
Well, and at a time where Christianity gets vilified for a lot of different things, it's like, as a believer, put a lot of effort into helping to rehabilitate that image, you know? Let people see what Christians really are about, because there have been some bad examples put out there, and they, for whatever reason, are the ones that get pushed way to the top of you know, pop culture and media. They just want to be like,
Well, of course they are, right?
yeah, and it's like, well, but down here I'm seeing all these great examples of good, you know,
Like-
Christian efforts and missions and things like that are doing a lot of good, and they don't want to focus on that. They just want to find the bad examples here and there, and so it's on us to help, you know, show what being a believer in Jesus really is about.
That's true. What, Levi?
Oh, I was just gonna say that like that's what I see so much online is just like when anybody makes, because like I follow a bunch of people like Orthodox and Catholic and Christian people on Twitter, because they all just it's some pretty incredible memes and stuff, but also
It's some pretty incredible memes.
but they talk about like good things and like quotes from the Bible, and they talk about saints, or they'll have arguments about like different things. And I like to see the other sides to like how they view things. And but like anytime that there's a non-believer saying anything, it's always just like, oh well, Catholic priests are bad. They do a lot of bad things all the time, and every single one of them is bad. And it's just like, well, all the replies are just like, well, first off,
You're wrong.
you're wrong. Like the statistics, like you're way higher to find, like way more likely to find a teacher that's a really, really bad person rather than a Catholic priest. Like the percentages is astronomically different. Like
But one has a
Yeah.
stereotype.
But one is just stereotyped,
and that
to be that
stereotype
way.
is
And-
used to
and
discredit the
that-
entire.
Yeah.
And it's so
There's a-
everywhere. That's like the entire rebuttal to anything that's positive about Christianity in
Yeah.
any way is just
Well-
like, oh well, they're bad. Or like
There's
with
a-
Protestantism, like whenever anybody brings up Protestants, the ortho boys will pull out a
Orthopedics?
Orthodontal.
I was going
I know.
orthopedics.
all our Orthodox brothers, they will bring out like the things with the LGBT female pastors, and it's just like
The what is it, progressive Christianity.
Progressive.
yeah, the
Christianity.
progressive.
Yeah, that
Christianity.
becomes the
Christianity.
steward of
and that
Protestants.
becomes what Protestantism is
Yeah.
in all of their minds, and it's just like,
Yeah.
man,
No, yeah. There's a YouTuber. He put his name's his channel's called Inspiring Philosophy, and he's a Christian. He put out this short that I thought was perfect, and they call them stitches, I guess, where you like have a video and then you can stitch on your own thing at the end,
Yeah.
like your
Yeah.
response. And somebody said something like Christians, blah blah blah. This, and he's like, there's nothing more enjoyable than listening to a non-believer tell a believer what we believe.
Yeah.
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 That's true, man.
It's like and that's where patience as a Christian is important because that's when you're like, well, that's not what we believe. And like, no, that is what you believe. I'm pretty sure I know
So
what I
much of
believe.
it I see that specifically is that is people who've left the faith and now they're
Yeah.
outspoken about it.
Yeah.
And then they'll say like, well, this is what you believe. And then you'll have hundreds of thousands of people sounding off in the comments going, we don't believe this. And then
Yeah.
you realize this picture, this painting is just a person, they believed it. It's obviously crazy what they had believed, so they left it, and now they think that's what all Christians must believe.
that's
and I'm an
awesome.
example
You
of that.
don't-
Because,
and
Yeah.
I see a ton of people as well that are like, oh, I don't like Christianity and I want to deconstruct everybody's faith because I left the Mormon church, and then it's just like, oh yeah, well there you go,
Not the same.
because you're believing something that's
Heresy already.
just
yeah,
bad.
but like you were saying, Jude,
Shut that down.
Where it's like
Byron
it's like
took-
they used to be believers and they've left.
Byron took
and
it.
they think that they have this full understanding. It's
They
like
think they
can
have a
tell
full
everybody else.
understanding, and what they have an understanding of is what they believe.
And that was me. That was because I grew up as a Christian. My dad was my dad would preach, so I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
And but I knew a lot, but when I kind of got to the point in my life where I was like, well, I guess I don't know if I'm really a believer or not a believer, and then I would talk to other people about it. I was like, well, they believe this, blah blah blah. Well, it was one denomination. I was a kid. It's a the information is it was a time there was no internet, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like
right.
it's like you didn't have Christians collaborating and going and talking about theology and like, well, the original translation says this and blah blah blah. They were just working on what was translated in front of them.
So
At least in my realm of Christianity, and so I didn't have a good full understanding of it, and so I fell into unbelieving. And then when I came back, now something you said was fake it till you make it. I would say almost alter that just a little bit to fake it till you understand it.
Yeah.
But if you're one of those that was a believer and you left, and now you feel like you got to tell everyone like, well, this is what Christians believe, I would do a double check and say, do I really understand what Christians believe? Did I leave before I learned it all? And there's a lot to learn, especially for me when I was like, well, demons are this and angels will do this, and because this is what I learned when I was a kid and all this stuff. And it's like, now I'm older, I'm like, you know what? In theology, there's fields of study: angelology, demonology, soteriology, eschatology, all these things that are just massive bodies of knowledge and information and study and research that your average Christian, most of you that were believers and left and want to tell everyone, this is why Christianity is bad, guarantee maybe 5% of it. It's
At best.
so much.
One of my favorite things my grandpa told me was like the issue of milk and meat in scripture is that
Yeah.
once you start eating meat, you don't stop drinking milk.
Yeah.
And so you're meant to take them, just keep taking them. You don't stop ever. The milk wasn't wrong, right? You take the meat and now you take the milk with it. And so many people I see it seems like they only had milk. And then they
Yeah.
left. and now you have none of the meat along with it.
Right.
And that's the only way the milk works. That's the way the milk makes sense. That's how you understand it better.
And these are the same people that will also believe that it's just faith. You just take it on faith and not understanding what faith is. Faith by definition is a reasoned belief.
Yeah.
It's something you have good reason to believe in. So the reason we have good reason to believe in is because there's archaeology, there's all these historical texts, everything that solidifies this for us. And your average person doesn't know that Christianity has all of this academic foundation that for it.
Yeah, faith isn't believing in an invisible chair.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's, having someone tell you what a chair is and believing that it'll hold you up.
What were you gonna say, Byron?
So started school this last week, and then there's a guy from he's Danish, I believe, but he's been all over Europe, speaks 7 languages.
Whoa.
This guy's crazy.
That's amazing.
Anyway, I know.
I just imagine this Dane. He speaks all of these languages, but he's just insane.
Oh,
Like,
So
like
he
actually,
drops into different
So
languages
like
just randomly.
every word is in a different language.
That would be
so he's
crazy.
just incoherable.
No,
that is incredible, though.
Sometimes he is incoherable because we're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like this. Oh, I was speaking the Latin word for this phrase right here that you were just talking about, and I'm like, okay,
We don't speak Latin.
understood.
That's a dead language, man.
But he knows all the bones in Latin. I'm just saying,
really?
it's so
That's
creepy.
amazing. That's cool.
This guy's brilliant.
Cool guy.
I mean,
Anyway.
the Latin words for bones and things are just like, oh, this is big bone. And
Oh,
this
really?
is
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
the
that's funny.
this is
That's
the
true.
biggest hole in your body, the one that goes into your brain skull.
Gluteus
It's just
maximus?
called big hole.
Like dinosaur, it is a dinosaur Latin.
Yeah,
for
you've got the
big lizard.
major. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah,
small.
it's just like
Or
it's
big
just
reptile or something.
it's like saying like, oh, this is the arm bone. This is the big arm bone.
Well, I mean,
I know gluteus maximus.
It's,
is
it's
no
easy
bone.
if you describe it that way.
if you know, yeah.
go ahead.
And
Anyway.
anyway, we were in the lunchroom. It was me, 2 other guys, and him. So there's 4 of us guys in this one room. And I go to George Fox University, Christian university for the most part. And I will tell you this: most of my professors are Christian and proclaiming good Christian theology. Talked to them a little bit about it.
That's cool.
But he was like, he did not know how to broach the subject of. He was like, "Is it okay to talk about faith here?" Because on our whiteboard, so I'm first year. There's 3 years of Doctor of Physical Therapy school. The second years, who are next door, came into us and they've been introducing themselves, hanging out with us, being friendly, and they wrote on the whiteboard, "Hey, we're starting a ladies' Bible study. If you would like to join, text us here. We'll get a group together. Yada yada yada." And he's in the lunchroom with us guys, and he's like, "I don't know how to explain this," and I'm gonna not use his exact words. He's like, "I don't know how to explain it, but is it okay to talk about Christianity? Is it okay to talk about faith? I didn't choose the school for faith, but is it okay to talk about that? Is it open to do that?" And we have an atheist, I'm guessing, in the room. I have another guy who doesn't know anything, and then there's me, and I'm like trying to talk and trying to broach a subject of, he's a Christian, he says.
The Dane.
The Dane.
Okay.
He believes in Jesus, but when he first explained it, he's like, there's a higher spirit. There's something up there. And everyone else is like, the science shows that there is something up there. And I'm like, okay, so this is kind of weird how you guys are approaching it. And I started talking about it, and we just had this like conversation of opening it up and explaining the gospel, explaining kind of the thing. But it was at the superficial level, like trying to communicate with someone. And trying to be able to do that is super challenging, because then you don't know where they're coming from, what their experience is. And so you have to say, okay, Jesus. Okay, who knows what Jesus is, what stuff like that. And then you have to talk about the gospel, and you talk about blanking on the words, the mission statement, is it the gospel? Yeah, you talk about the gospel. You do the gospel track, kind of an idea.
right through gospel
going
track.
through the
Great Commission.
The Great Commission. You talk about the stuff, and you talk about how Jesus lived, died for our sins, and then he rose again when you saw him, and that kind of stuff. But if they don't understand the same words, if we're speaking a different wording of it, it's really hard to explain it. And so,
If there's one language he doesn't speak, and it's Christianese.
if it's not Christianese, there's no way I'm going to talk about Catholic, like you're not going to use big giant words. You're going to use those really
Yeah.
simple understanding
I
context
think-
of words.
And I think you
But-
have to take a different tactic with highly intelligent people.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
they're
yes.
they're going to pick apart anything
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
hit
So-
it with. It was kind of blew me away because my return to Christianity was that route. It was, I have to pick everything apart. I have to go through all this. I have to go through the rabbit hole and see all these different things and figure out why is it that the Christian scholars believe, because Christian scholars, I even as an unbeliever, I'm like, well, they're just definitely highly intelligent people. They know how to study, they know how to research, they know how to do these things. Why do they believe this? And you go and research and find out why. And then you get to the real foundation of faith and belief in God and everything. But you got to approach it with them so much more differently. But I think with highly intelligent people, like you said, it was like a superficial conversation.
Yep.
If they're an intelligent atheist, you just have to get them to being a theist first. You got to get them to that point first. It's like, is there possibly a God? And then you can go, is it the God of the Bible?
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, you got to baby step it there. But it kind of blew me away when I first came back to Creekside. Chad was still our pastor at the point. And these are things I love to bounce off of Chad and Matt a ton and just talk about this kind of stuff and get their take on it. Big part of me coming back to getting into a church was I had all this stuff going in my head.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I've got to get it bounced off some people that because like just going to my other non-believing friends and like this is what I'm thinking. Like, you're crazy. You're nuts. It's like I want to talk to people who don't think I'm crazy and nuts. And so I would do that, and then I would bring this stuff up. I'm like, so how, like getting someone to understand this or understand that, and Chad was like, Chris, I just don't find it. You have to go that far, and I realize it's like because I'm rabbit holing it. I'm over overanalyzing it, and I mean not overanalyzing it. I'm definitely there's worth in analyzing to that level, but your average person, the gospel speaks to them sooner, I think.
Yeah. What was hanging up my Danish friend was that he didn't understand why people would study the Bible. That was
It's a historical text.
It was a historical text, and I never had an opportunity to do it because people came in, people started talking, and subjects changed too quickly, and I couldn't get it back on track where I was hoping for. So, laid groundwork. We're gonna come back
it's
to
good.
it anyway.
You're gonna be around them a lot.
But like, it's we're studying right now anatomy, and we have to dive into the book of anatomy, and we're learning anatomy, and we're learning all this stuff, and we have to keep coming back to it because we forget it. And I was gonna be like, that's the same thing with the Bible. That's what we do. You go back in to see what is God actually saying here. Why is this important? Why was this written down? Because if we don't go back to the Word and we're just going off of memory of sake, stories change, things get forgotten, and we'll come up with some like, oh, this guy did this thing. No, he actually did this thing, but we're supposing this name into that wrong guy. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to remember why we thought this was a great guy coming through, but then we remember a story of something wrong. And so we have to go back and recheck it. Or something else is happening to us. Something's happening in your life, a new circumstance. Life circumstance is happening. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this text makes sense now. This is why God said to do this and for this to happen was for times like I'm in right now. But previous to that, it doesn't speak to you because it hasn't happened yet. Your eyes have not been opened. Your heart hasn't been softened to that point of understanding that text.
Yeah.
And even,
sure. Go ahead.
And then even if, so I'm going to use Jerry as an example. If Jerry understands that text because he's gone through something, okay? And I haven't. And Jerry explains 4 hours to me that text. I will never fully understand it until I have reached the point at which Jerry was at when he read and understood the text.
Oh yeah, to a certain extent, I think that's totally true. Like it's something we mentioned in the last episode too. But like this term for it I've called is like, or that I've been using for it is experiential trial. Yeah. But like that's really this huge moment where because we were talking about Nebuchadnezzar. And I think that's the cool thing about the story of Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel is that like he's a great example, if nothing else, of the validity of this idea of the experiential trial. Like we can even wrap our mind around some things like in principle or in like an idea, like the Bible's saying, like this is right. And you go, yes, I believe it is right. But like until that's just something that we should be grateful for, is that we can look on even at these difficult things in our lives that we might qualify as suffering, right? And dude, like suffering is just such a big can of worms. But like, we can look at this thing that is often suffering in our lives, and we know for in so many ways God gives it purpose. But we can look at like a verse like 1 Peter 4:12 through 17, where it's talking about suffering and how we're connected to the suffering of Christ through our suffering. It's like you can go before it even really suffering a lot and be like, yeah, I understand how that makes sense. But then the experiential trial is like beyond that, where you are in it, out of it, learned from it, and you can look back on it. The other purpose suffering has is things like that, right? It's like you can go into something and be like, oh man, or like you can go to someone too and tell them like when they're suffering and try and explain these things to them and see that, you know, that they understand the purpose of suffering. But really until you've had that experiential trial of like come out of it and God reveals to you the understanding from something because of this suffering or whatever it is, that experiential trial, like that's such a huge part of it. And I think that, yeah, I totally agree. And I was going to say, like, you were kind of attaching it to like even an anatomy textbook, right? Like, or something that someone might study again. You may even learn new things too. It's not just the reminding you, like you touched on it with the Bible, like there's the reminding you so that you always remember what you've learned, but also there's the going back to it and learning something new, which you touched on with the Bible, right? Yep. Like you've experienced something new and then you understand something new out of it that you didn't understand before. And that is also true, I'm sure, of like anatomy textbooks. I imagine that like witnessing a certain injury or having to like help someone in physical therapy or even something of your own, then you go back to the textbook and you're like, now this makes sense why this is this way. Like,
So an actual example in the anatomy textbook is I have anatomy class, I have neuro class, I have and I have biomechanics. All three of those classes are different classes. We're tested on different things. Understood. But you don't understand anatomy until you understand neuro. You don't understand anatomy until you understand biomechanics. But you can't understand biomechanics completely until you understand anatomy and neuro. And so you have to take all three of them at the same time. And so as I'm in anatomy class, they're talking about something about the brachial plexus. Ooh, that's fun. Anyway, you talk about something like that, but you don't understand it until you take an anatomy class where it talks about how the brachial plexus works, how that whole function works. And then once you have that, you go back to the anatomy and you're like, now that makes sense what they were saying to me. I understand it a little bit better. Not completely, a little bit better.
Yeah.
So you do it again and you do it again. Reps makes it you understand it, but I want to do reps and reps and reps with the Bible.
yeah. Levi, you got something open over there?
Yeah, I did. It kind of took a turn
Oh.
from when I started.
We're a few exits back.
Yeah. No, but like I mean, we would have need to have taken a specific turn that
Oh, I
never
see.
happened.
Oh, I see.
That I thought that we were going
You were
down.
precognitively pulling it
Dude,
up.
props though for
And
you were minority reporting the conversation.
The reference.
yeah. But
That's
then
a movie,
me
if you
but
don't
then
know.
me looking it up, it took us down the other wrong path.
Because you looked it up?
Because I looked at
Wow, you're
because
incredible.
I
Sort-
saw
sort of like
into
if
the
you-
future
if you
and I
look at an
changed
atom,
the
you change
future
its speed.
by seeing the future.
Yeah.
Well, then never mind.
Yeah, so my bad.
I think it just in knowing God, just in everything you do, just having Jesus in your life. I mean, it's so hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. It's so experiential. It's your life is filled with joy. You get filled with joy.
Yeah.
Desires for things that you shouldn't have desires for, those desires just start to fall away. It's like you just don't feel the need for it anymore. It's like your goals, your purpose has changed. It's like you're not self-centered anymore. You're God-centered. That's where I think we are really going long, aren't we, Jerry?
Yeah, but it's okay. Finish this thought and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, but it's just like where we have a big marriage crisis in this country, and it's like I just look at it as like if both parties in the marriage are God focused, God doesn't change. It's like if you're self-centered, each of you are self-centered, then you've got two masters being served. Each has different needs and wants,
Both
and
trying
those
to get
both can
something out of
change.
the marriage.
They can change in a moment's notice. But if you're both focusing on God and what God wants, it's solid ground.
There's like the statistic that like 50% of marriages fail, but it's more like 30% of first marriages will fail.
Right.
Because that
And-
takes into account like second marriages and everything.
They're,
right?
Yes.
they're repeat offenders.
And
Yeah. The more
But
you divorce, the more likely you are to
divorce again.
Yeah.
But in relation, and it's basically the same in Christian households, except if the two take at least 10 minutes a week to pray together,
Yep.
then there is like 0.1%.
Below 1%.
It's
drastic.
It was 1 in 1,500
Yeah.
of a divorce happening
Because you both want what God
when
wants.
they both prayed for at least 10 minutes a week.
A week.
Together.
A week.
Together.
Together.
Week.
Together. It has to be
Dude,
together.
together.
But like,
That's not asking much at all.
No.
You could do that on a Saturday. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, we're gonna pray for 10 minutes, and we're good for the rest of our
Yeah,
lives.
I mean, I think intention is a huge part of it. Too.
yes,
It's not
intention's
like,
a huge
it's
part
not
of
like,
it.
hey, let's
I'm just
spend
saying,
10 minutes,
like-
you know.
but like, I mean, but also faking it until you make it.
Yeah.
If you're praying together, setting aside time
Yep, that's
every
true.
week, there's gonna be change that happens. Because if you're doing that, you're gonna be seeking after God.
I've done-
Because you're not gonna keep that up without.
I just did the math though, and if you change that to 11 minutes a week, I think you eliminate that 1%. That 1% is
There, boom,
eliminated
right there.
the 1%. Well done, Chris.
Hey,
all right,
you wanna
let's
eliminate
solve
the
problems
You
here.
want to eliminate the 1%? Pray 11 minutes a day with your wife.
let's wrap this up here because we are insanely long. But I think that this was a great episode. I'm gonna cut a bunch of it through and put some on Patreon, or I might just release this as like a 1 and 2 part episode. That could work too.
oh my gosh.
I don't know. But we'll see what happens in the cutting room floor. Real quick before we go, Chris, since you are a guest, you have to take part in this.
It's a long-standing tradition of
It's a
every
long-standing
guest that
tradition.
comes
Every
on,
guest has had to do it.
It
They
started with me.
must.
It did start with
tell
Byron
us
because the guesting started with Byron.
a joke.
You must tell us a joke.
You
Tell
must
us a joke.
Tell us a joke.
I have to tell you a joke.
And we don't bother to tell you ahead of time because that would be ridiculous.
We went
we
went
never
out of
tell
our
them.
way not to prep you for this.
If anything, the things I told you to prep for didn't come up, which I'm sorry about.
I know a lot of jokes.
Oh, this is the first time we've had someone be like,
Wow, a connoisseur.
High roller.
weird flex.
Well, I am
joke.
dad, so
Hi, I am Dad.
I'll start with a dad joke. We'll start off with a dad joke. So knock knock.
Who's there?
The interrupting cow.
The interrupting.
We've all heard it.
Got us
we can't
again.
do it.
I was in. It was the.
I
it
was
the
hoping-
interrupting and he.
I was hoping for a subverted expectation, Chris. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Chris pulled out a gun on our podcast.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you one more
The
joke.
interrupting cow.
One more joke. Actually.
One more
This
joke.
one's
Okay,
better.
okay.
You guys can cut that last joke out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a father and a son, and the father has a son with his wife.
Okay.
Nice happy family.
That makes sense.
And father loves his son. He'll do anything for him. He'll give him anything he wants. When the son turns 3 years old, he asks him, like, "What do you want for your birthday?" He says, "I would like a tricycle." And the father's like, "Okay, cool." And the son adds on, he's like, "With pink cotton balls all over it." Yeah, I know. The dad's like, "That's weird." He's like, "But I love my son. I'm not going to ask questions. Here's your trike with pink cotton balls all over it." Kid loves it. He's like, "Yeah, I don't. You guys do those tricks on your trikes?
Yeah.
Like you can power slide with it." So he's just ripping and tearing all over the yard with it. He loves it. Kid gets older, about 11, 12 years old, on his birthday, and dad asks him what he wants for his birthday. He's like, "I want a BMX bike." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." He's like, "With pink cotton balls all over it." He's like, "What is up with this?" He's like, "All right, fine. I'm not going to ask yet." And so he gets him the BMX, and he's doing jumps. He's dirt biking everywhere. He's having a blast with it. Kid loves it. He turns 16 years old, gets his license. He's like, "Well, son, what do you want for your birthday?" He's like, "I would like a red Corvette." His dad's like, "Yeah, that's really cool." He's like, "With pink cotton balls all over it." And he's like, "Man, this is just too weird." And so he gets him the Corvette, pink cotton balls all over it. And he's racing, and he's just all over town with this, and he loves it. The kid gets into racing and has an accident, gets rushed to the hospital, and it's bad. Dad gets a call. He's like, "You need to come down here now because you don't have much time. You need to, if you want to talk to your son, because he's going to go soon." Dad runs down, rushes down. And he's like, "Son, what were you doing? What were you thinking?" He's like, "I'm sorry, Dad. I was racing. The doctor said I don't have much time, and I just wanted to tell you, that I love you." And he's like, "I love you too, son, but I just have to know before you go."
Oh my gosh.
"What is up with the pink cotton balls?" He's like, "Well, Dad, the whole reason that I wanted pink cotton balls on my stuff is..."
Oh no.
So okay, I'm gonna hold on for a second. I'm gonna cut in here. So, I have heard this joke before. Okay.
I've never heard that.
So I heard
That's
this back when I was 9 years old or 8 years old. This guy would do Sunday or did a VBS Bible school thing for us kids. Okay. At lunch, he would tell us a story, and it was 5 days in a row. This would go on. Day one, he started this joke, and he used pink golf balls.
So he told this joke over 5 days?
Yes. So pink golf
even
balls.
better. That's even
So
better.
hold on. So pink golf balls. Day one. Oh, the kid wants it. He wants a pink golf ball for his first birthday, second birthday, third birthday, fifth birthday. He gets a little, or third birthday, he gets a little trolley cart and it has pink golf balls in it. Day 4, he gets something more: a bicycle, a car, a boat, a plane. By the 28th birthday, this is day 4. He's like this. Okay, guys. I will tell you and we're like, what happens at the end of this story? Because it's a story to us. It's not a joke. Day 4, he's like, I will tell you the next part of the story, but I will not be able to tell you I will not be able to tell you for the 5th if I continue on the story. And us young naive kids were like, yes, because he's probably gonna finish it here. Let's go, tell the story. Tells the story, talks about him in the hospital, and then he just ends it there. And says, I won't tell you the end of the story. And so my whole life, I have wondered what this boy has done with the pink golf balls. And you got me so excited here for a moment because you were going to complete the story, the joke,
Triggered your trauma.
the 20-year story that I have been waiting for to figure out what the heck this kid was doing with
Now
pink
you know
golf
it.
balls.
Now you know that it's just a
It was that
subversive
he
joke.
died.
He just dies. Because he doesn't tell us that he died.
You know that.
so
You finally heard that the guy died at the end.
I have waited
I'm
my
so
whole
glad
life.
I could provide you this.
Yeah.
My whole life. I was like, you
Closure.
honestly,
Year-long joke to learn that he dies at the end.
you started the joke, and I actually had an internal dwelling of like, I'm actually going to hear the end of this joke. I'm actually going to be able to have a end.
Up until this point, though, you didn't know that it was like a
I thought
standard joke. You thought that guy.
I thought it was an honest story that he was making up on the spot for us.
Yeah.
And continue it.
It's a-
And like, he went in deep, like the golf balls. He flew the golf balls into this cave.
You gotta suck
and
him in. You gotta bring him.
It was deep. There was billions of pink golf balls, billions of them,
Billions.
and we never knew what was going on with those golf balls.
That's funny. Yeah, I call that a joke with an anti-punchline.
Yeah, those are some of my favorites. I like jokes like that, but it is made infinitely better by the fact that Byron has been waiting his entire life for this.
That
moment.
makes me.
And in a way,
Yeah.
though, he did answer it for you. At
You
least
got
now
the
know-
answer.
Now you know what it
Now
was.
you know.
The answer is death. If anyone wondered, if you were in the
answer is death.
If you're in the VBS group back 20
Let's just
years
turn this
ago and
into a
you're
YouTube
watching
short.
this,
The answer is
The answer.
the answer was death. That's all it was.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
group.
original class. If they listen to our podcast now, they know.
I don't even
It
know
was the
anyone that was
mortality
there.
of man.
I don't even know the guy. I was literally gonna find him at some point
your
and be
old
like,
classmates
"What
on
actually
Facebook."
happened there?"
And he's like, "It was my son."
It was
couldn't
my
tell you.
son.
He pulls out a golf ball.
He pulls out a pink golf ball.
Some
This
Reddit.
is the answer to that story.
But I know the answer to the.
Well,
Well, everybody, thank you for being here.
fakes up.
Great episode. I had a lot of fun. Had a grand old time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, Chris, for being here. Thank you for getting involved. I'm so excited that you are going to be getting involved. I'm glad that we got to do an episode with you before. You're trapped back there behind the camera. But if you guys... go
We
ahead.
give you a taste of freedom.
If you guys
sound.
enjoyed, later we'll only hear the sound. If you guys enjoyed what you watched today or listened to, find us at discord.gg/ChristianInfluence. Go to the backlog. Listen to all the other episodes if you're enjoying it. If this is the first one. If it is, man, this was a long one. But the other ones are usually long too. Thank you guys for listening. We love you very much.
Roll the outro.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.